The first time Lena saw the house, it looked almost like it had been waiting for her. Set deep in a pine forest, where mist clung to the trees like forgotten ghosts, the wooden cottage was perched on a slight hill overlooking a frozen lake. Her great-uncle Yuri had died that spring, an old hermit with few ties and fewer friends, and left the house to her in his will. Lena, a quiet librarian from Kazan, had never met him. "You don't have to keep it," her brother Pavel had told her. "Just go see it, maybe clean it up, sell it. Make a bit of money." But something told her to go. She packed her things and traveled by train, then bus, then a hired car through a town so small it didn't have a name on most maps. The driver dropped her at the edge of the woods, where a gravel road led to the only home for miles. It was October. The air was already sharp with winter. Inside, the house was clean but cold. Wooden walls, thick curtains, an iron stove still smelling faintly of smoke. A row of worn bookshelves. A dusty samovar. There were letters stacked on the desk in the bedroom, none addressed to her, but all written in the same slanted handwriting. She didn't read them. Not yet. She decided to stay for a week. Maybe 2. At first, the days were quiet. She woke early, lit a fire in the stove, brewed tea with the last of the loose leaves Yuri had stored. She read books from the shelf, Russian folklore, old history volumes, journals with notes in the margins. The lake remained frozen, but sometimes it groaned, as if turning in its sleep. Once, she saw a deer in the woods. Another time, a large black dog trotting along the tree line, vanishing when she blinked. On the 5th night, it snowed heavily. The power flickered and died. She wrapped herself in blankets and sat by the fire with a candle. That's when she heard the knocking. 3 soft knocks. Then silence. It came from the back door. Lena's heart pounded. No one lived out here. She waited a moment, then slowly stood up. The knocking came again, this time, faster, more urgent. When she opened the door a crack, the wind howled past her, and she saw a man standing there, pale, shivering, holding his side. "Please," he gasped, I fell." She let him in. He was bleeding from his hip, his jacket torn. He said his name was Ivan. He'd been hiking in the woods when a tree branch snapped beneath him and sent him rolling down a hill. He'd seen the smoke from her chimney and followed it. Lena tended to his wound with her old first aid kit. She heated soup on the stove and gave him her bed while she curled up on the couch. When morning came, the snow had buried the road completely. Ivan stayed for 4 days. They talked. About books. About their hometowns. About what drew him to the woods. He was a biology researcher, taking samples from the lake before it froze completely. He never said who he worked for. Lena didn't ask. At night, they played cards. He teased her about how seriously she took her tea, and she teased him for being a city explorer, in sneakers. But there was something strange, too. A shadow behind his smile. Sometimes he'd stare out the window for a long time, watching the trees. Once, she woke in the middle of the night and found him whispering near the front door, like he was speaking to someone outside. When she called his name, he turned sharply. His eyes were too wide. He didn't answer. On the 5th day, the snowplow came. Lena heard the rumble of the engine before she saw the orange lights through the trees. "I guess that's your ride out," she said, forcing a smile. Ivan nodded slowly. "I should go. But before I do, can I show you something?" She hesitated. "Show me what?" He gestured toward the edge of the forest. "It's not far. Just past the pines." Against her better judgment, she followed him. They walked for 20 minutes in silence, snow crunching beneath their boots. Eventually, they reached a clearing Lena had never seen before. There was a tall, blackened tree at the center, split by lightning long ago. Around it were old stone markers, like gravestones, but with no writing. Only symbols. This is why I came, Ivan said. Your uncle knew about it. He left notes. Diaries. He pulled a thin book from his coat and handed it to her. It was Yuri's handwriting. She flipped through pages filled with sketches, maps, and strange drawings of animals with glowing eyes. What is this? I don't know, Ivan said. But it's not folklore. They heard howling then. Low. Guttural. Not far. They ran. Back at the house, Lena locked every door. The howling continued, sometimes close, sometimes distant. Ivan stood by the window, staring into the dark. I should have told you everything, he whispered. There are things in those woods. They're not wolves. Not really. But they're watching. She didn't sleep that night. Neither did he. In the morning, Ivan was gone. No note. No footprints in the snow. Weeks passed. Lena stayed. She read Yuri's diaries by candlelight and discovered sketches of the same markers, the same blackened tree. She found references to the Watchers and the Hollow Howl. In one entry, Yuri described hearing a voice that wasn't his own, telling him to stay quiet, stay still, stay hidden. She started hearing the same voice. One afternoon in early spring, when the lake was still half frozen, Lena walked back to the clearing. The tree was still there. So were the stones. But this time, someone else was there too. Ivan. He looked the same. But different. Pale. Distant. Not quite real. I couldn't leave, he said softly. They wouldn't let me. What do they want? Lena asked. To be remembered, he said. To be fed. And sometimes, to be followed. He reached out and touched her hand. It felt cold as ice. In the years that followed, Lena remained in the house. She no longer thought of returning to Kazan. The house needed her. The woods knew her now. Sometimes she'd see strangers passing through, travelers who knocked on the door, seeking warmth or shelter. She let them in. Sometimes they stayed. Sometimes they didn't. And sometimes, at night, when the wind carried the scent of pine and snow and the lake sighed beneath its frozen skin, Lena would walk to the edge of the forest and listen. Not for wolves. But for the Watchers. And for the man who still whispered her name from the shadows.